I'd like to talk about people who make political comments on the internet, not just in YouTube, but in many other sites as well, and hide behind bogus screen names and make all sorts of stupid excuses for not identifying themselves and standing behind their statements. First of all, to avoid any hint of hypocrisy, my name is Kevin Walsh. I'm 45 years old. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I work as a metallurgical furnace operator. I have spent 19 months incarcerated, 3.5 months in a psychiatric hospital, 10.5 months in 2 jails, and 5 months in a prison for having resisted an arrest which was made improperly. And so this arrest was done on orders of the Secret Service because they knew they did not have enough evidence to charge me with a real crime, so they wanted me to be locked up in a psychiatric hospital. So I have personal knowledge of government repression, and I refuse to be anonymous, because I know that when you're online, the government can track you down anyway. They can find your IP address, and then they can locate you. If you post from home, that's very simple for them. If you post from a public library terminal or some other public terminal, they require you to produce identification, and they assign you a specific terminal so they can track down whatever you post. So don't post anything on the internet that you wouldn't post in front of a police officer, because they can find out. There was a fellow in San Diego in 2008 who made some intemperate remarks about Barack Obama, then only a presidential candidate, not the president. But the Secret Service tracked him down, and he was charged and convicted of making felony threats against a political candidate. Now, the ruling was ultimately overturned, and he's not legally a felon anymore, because the appellate court ruled that what he'd said was protected free speech. For all that, however, he was still tracked down. So those people who tell me that they're using pseudonyms online to prevent the government from finding out who they are either extremely ignorant people or are flat out lying. And as far as people who are worried about what their coworkers and neighbors and family members will think if they find out that they've been making these comments, if you're afraid of what they think, then you shouldn't be making these comments at all, because you're obviously not committed and willing to stand by your views. If you think you have something important to say for the general public politically, those should be the first people you should talk to. Those are the people whose opinions you're most likely to change. So if you're not going to be willing that they find out who you are, there's no point making those comments. So generally speaking, the people who make political comments online and refuse to identify themselves are either fools or liars or con artists, or in some cases government disinformation agents who are trying to criticize certain points of view and not be held accountable for it. So if you want to talk to me and expect me to take you seriously online, you'd better tell me who you are. Otherwise, I'm going to regard you as either a fool or an enemy.